Incidentally, this hat may not look like much, but it survived 3 connecting flights from California to get here tonight. I don't think I can remember my poem without my hat on, at least my hat. I'm happy to do cowboy poetry here and contribute in some small way to the gathering tonight. What a wonderful celebration, what a wonderful wedding, and what a beautiful couple. And I'm happy to be here. I'm going to assume that most of you don't have much experience with cowboy poetry. It's a long ways from where cowboys are usually hanging. I usually like to do some of the old classics written by some of the old poets. And incidentally, cowboy poetry is an art form that goes back, clear back into the days of the real cowboys and the cattle drives from Texas. And when they were riding out on the range to their horses, they would make up poems concerning their experiences in their life. And that art form has survived and is being brought back over the last 20, 25 years. So anyhow, this first poem is called The Sierra Peaks, which is a mountain range, I believe, in Arizona somewhere. Away up high in the Sierra Peaks where the yellow pines grow tall, old Sandy Bob and Buster Jig had a roundup camp last fall. They had taken their horses and running irons and maybe a dog or two, and they allowed that they brand all the long-eared calves that came within their view. And any old doggy that flapped long ears and didn't brush up by day got his long ears whittled and his old hide scorched in a most artistic way. Well, one fine day, old Sandy Bob, he throws his Seago down. That's a rope. He said, "I'm sick of the smell of burning hair, and I allows I'm going to town." So they saddled up and hit him a lope, for it weren't no sight of a ride. And then was the days when a buckaroo could oil up his insides. They started her in at the Kentucky bar at the head of Whiskey Road and wound up down by the depot house, some 40 drinks below. And then they sets up and turns her around and goes her the other way. To tell the God-forsaken truth, them boys got stewed that day. Well, as they was riding back to camp, packing a pretty good load, who should they meet but the devil himself, just a-prancing down the road. Says he, "You ornery cowboy skunks, you better hunt your holes, 'cause I came up from hell's rimrock to gather in your souls." Says Sandy Bob, "Oh, devil be damned, we boys is a kind of tight, but you ain't gonna gather no cowboy souls without some kind of a fight." So Sandy Bob punched a hole in his Seago, and his swing was straight and true. He lapped it onto the devil's horns, and he'd taken his galleys too. Now Buster Jig was a reoutta man with his duck line coiled up neat. He shook it loose and built him a loop and lassoed the devil's hind feet. They stretched him out and tailed him down, and while the iron was getting hot, they cropped and swallow-forked his ears. Then they branded him up a lot. They pruned him up with a dehorn and saw and knotted his tail as a joke, and then they rode off and left him there, neck to a blackjack oak. So if you're ever way up in the Sierra Peaks and you hear one hell of a wail, it's just the devil a-bellering about them knots tied in his tail. Thank you. I have a poem that was requested that I do.